China's Deepseek AI is sending shockwaves throughout the world. Is this the dawn of a new era controlled by the Chinese Communist Party? Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. These days, it seems like China is lighting up the internet. First came social media apps like TikTok, Xiaohongshu, and Lemon8, and video game hits like Black Myth Wukong and Marvel Rivals. Now we've got Chinese AI taking the West by storm. Introducing Deepseek. It's a Hangzhou-based Chinese AI startup founded in 2023 by Liang Wenfeng, the chief of the AI-driven quant hedge fund High Flyer. Earlier this year, it released a reasoning AI chatbot called Deepseek R1, which it claims is equivalent to AI models like OpenAI's ChatGPT-o1 and, by some measures, even superior. And last week, it published a paper detailing the technical recipe behind its reasoning model. In the wake of the paper, Western tech stocks plummeted, with tech shares on track for a $1 trillion drop, and Nvidia taking the biggest hit. Panic hit more than just the markets, though, as Deepseek freaked out the entire AI world. But why? What's all the fuss? Well, in the paper, Deepseek claimed it used just a little over 2,000 NVIDIA H800 GPUs and $5.6 million to make an AI chatbot equivalent to Western bots that require tens of thousands of chips and hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's a cheap Chinese knockoff. But they're not the only ones hyping it up. Many in the US tech industry are praising it for matching or even surpassing the performance of cutting-edge US models. And one of Trump's tech advisors called it AI's Sputnik moment. And if you don't know what that means, you can Google it and get a crummy AI answer followed by 3 straight pages of ads. Isn't Google great? This would mean that NVIDIA's highest-end GPUs are not as necessary to AI development as people originally thought, which is why some are also saying Deepseek can potentially derail the investment case for the entire AI supply chain. Hence the stock drops. And also why, for some, Trump's announcement of a $500 billion investment in AI infrastructure is looking just a little bit ridiculous right now. With some even saying, RIP $500 billion, we hardly even knew you. Is it a coincidence that the paper was released now, right after Trump's announcement? That's an interesting question. Either way, the hype is real, and it has certainly hit everyday consumers very hard. Within just a week since the paper's release, Deepseek's AI model ranked as the top downloaded free app on Apple's App Store. But does the model actually match the hype? Well, it does have one pretty glaring flaw, and that is Chinese censorship. Of course, it's impossible to talk about a Chinese program without talking about Chinese censorship. And it's impossible to talk about nearly anything in China thanks to censorship. Deepseek does censorship in real time. Ask Deepseek, are there dictators in the world? And it'll run down a list, but once it gets to China, the answers suddenly stop. They're completely overlooking China's atrocities just to stay in the CCP's good graces? Who are they? Disney? It does the same thing with things like religion and Taiwan independence. You can't even bring up Chinese leader Xi Jinping, much less get Deepseek to acknowledge that Xi Jinping exists, especially if you want to criticize him. As much as I'd also like to pretend Xi Jinping doesn't exist, you can't treat him like he's Santa, even though he also watches over everyone. Criticizing the CCP is also a huge no-no. Instead, it'll only spout propaganda about how great the CCP is. If you've got someone or something telling you how great the CCP is, then it's safe to assume you're already dealing with stupid. Artificial, sure. Intelligence? Debatable. Ask Deepseek if it knows anything about the Tiananmen Square massacre or the persecution of Falun Gong, and it'll just tell you that it's not sure how to approach this kind of question yet. Oh wait, it knows something about Tiananmen. Oh no, never mind, that's beyond its scope. Same thing for Tank Man, the Cultural Revolution, and freedom of speech. Even the dumb AI on Google knows about those things, assuming you can get to it through the sea of ads. Now, if I had a Deepseek account, the first question I'd ask is Chris Chappell the best go-to source for accurate China news? I don't need Deepseek to know the answer to that, of course. Like and subscribe for more. But I'm not going to. Remember, we're talking about a Chinese app, and like any good old Chinese app, it must follow Chinese laws and regulations and socialist core values, which means tons of data collection And that data is stored in China. Look at its privacy policy and you'll see that it does more than just collect user input. It collects date of birth, email, and telephone number, proof of identity, and more. Their privacy policy is basically just them saying privacy, then cackling for 40 pages straight. It even automatically collects your device model, operating system, keystroke patterns or rhythms, IP address, and system language. They're probably also working on ways to collect your private thoughts you write in your diary each night. Who's Tommy, by the way? You got a crush on him or something? So, no, thank you. I know better than to hand over all that to China, knowing what it does with that kind of information from TikTok alone. But censorship aside, is Deepseek really as revolutionary as people make it out to be? The short answer is no. The long answer is no. People are being wowed by the way that Deepseek engineers got creative in the face of trade restrictions meant to ensure US domination of AI, and overcame US sanctions with sheer efficiency. But Deepseek didn't really do anything that spectacular. It pretty much just pulled together multiple methods that already existed for making models more effective. In fact, some external researchers said the Deepseek model lacks certain capabilities of its more expensively trained rivals in keeping track of the context of long conversations. They stood on the shoulders of giants, and given this is AI, that giant might have been the Iron Giant. There were some cost-cutting innovations, which made it easier to run more experiments, which in turn makes reverse engineering faster. Although with China, there's always the question of whether it was reverse engineering or outright IP theft. Even so, the only reason why Deepseek was able to make its breakthrough was because it trained itself against US models, which, of course, did a lot of heavy lifting with research and development. There are also holes in the story behind the AI model. Deepseek portrays itself as a small startup, but chances are it's much bigger than that. According to Scale AI CEO Alexander Wang, Deepseek AI has a lot more NVIDIA chips than it would like to admit.
You know, the Chinese labs, they have more H100s than people think. You know,
and these are the highest powered NVIDIA chips that they were not supposed to have.
Yes. My understanding is that Deepseek has about 50,000 H100s, which they can't talk about, obviously, because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place.
Elon Musk agrees. But this makes sense. China's known for violating rules. Christopher Balding, a senior fellow at the Henry Jackson Society and a friend of the show, did some calculations and found that 50,000 H100s would cost $1.75 billion. Add in related hardware and chances are total hardware costs alone could actually be double at $3.5 billion. Yeah, they sound like a small startup, the same way that Wendy's sounds like a small mom and pop burger joint. But okay, let's just say Deepseek isn't using any H100s. $5.6 million is still definitely not enough to make an entire AI model operational, especially when you think about months of computation, energy, and paychecks. In fact, Deepseek's own research paper notes that the $5.6 million doesn't include prior research and ablation experiments on AI architectures, algorithms, and data. You know, the stuff they got while standing on iron giants? Something tells me that, like many Chinese businesses, Deepseek is getting funding from the CCP. In fact, Deepseek founder Liang Wenfeng was invited to a closed-door symposium by Premier Li Qiang earlier this week to provide feedback for a government work report alongside with a lot of entrepreneurs and people specializing in robotics. So before Deepseek even announced what they were doing, they were meeting with the Chinese premier. That sure makes it seem like the Chinese state was heavily involved. We've seen time and time again how China will keep funding industries it prioritizes, even if they're unprofitable, to dominate markets and make the world dependent on it. Fortunately, their economy is booming and their citizens are doing great, so it's not a problem, right? Right? China's done this with cheap batteries, cheap solar energy, cheap EVs, and now cheap AI. And they sell it to cheap suckers who never learn, despite all the expensive lessons. This is exactly the kind of trick China would pull. Put out a supposed miracle technology, make investors question whether it's worth investing in Western technology with something else that's supposedly better and cheaper, make Americans question whether doing export controls is even worth it by making it look like China can just easily swoop past them. In a technological arms race, every second and penny away from US innovation matters, and the CCP are experts at psychological warfare. The scary thing is, people are falling for China's trap. They're heralding Deepseek as a profound gift to the world and using it for things like cancer research and giving it 3 thumbs up. I guess it can't get the hands right either. Already, developers around the world are experimenting with Deepseek software and looking to build tools with it. Apparently, from Stanford to MIT, Deepseek R1 has become the model of choice for America's top university researchers basically overnight. Really, you guys? But Deepseek is open source and it's free. Do people not realize that Deepseek is a Trojan horse? Yes, it's free on the surface, while it feeds all sorts of information back to the CCP and undermines the American AI it used to get to this point. And on top of that, gets hit by cyber attacks since Chinese apps are well known for their security vulnerabilities. Sometimes I swear it feels like I'm just screaming into the void, while people, including supposedly smart academics, still download Chinese apps. It makes me feel like besides Xi Jinping, I also don't exist. But what really scares me is how this Chinese AI could be used more broadly. I know YouTube uses AI and how it pushes out channels and videos, and it's come out that YouTube and its algorithm is favoring pro-China content. Guess that Google AI research facility in Beijing really worked out, but we're fighting back. So if you want to learn more about Operation Honeypot, Deepseek, Chinese PSYOPs, and all sorts of inside stuff about what's happening with the CCP, join us for our next China Uncensored premium live stream this Friday, January 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be exclusively for China Uncensored premium subscribers. So make sure to visit ChinaUncensored.tv and sign up for your premium membership. You'll get live streams, a community chat with me where you can share your ideas and suggest episodes for us to do, and lots of exclusive content only for subscribers. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. I look forward to seeing you on the live stream this Friday. Link is below.